Hey, welcome back everybody. So today we're going to be talking about HTML lists, okay? And we're going to talk about the list tags, how they work, and what they're used for, okay? So one thing that I wanted to stress to you guys right now is that we're working in brackets. Okay, I've got a few windows open here working in brackets. We're going to be coding in brackets, okay? Then we're going to be saving it to the desktop. Okay, you can see I have my desktop here. And then after that, we're going to be testing it in a browser. Okay, it's really important to follow this workflow that you're going to code, save, and then test, okay, to see the results of your code. Okay, so that's the process we're going to be doing. Now, a couple of things is that why we're testing is because eventually, you know, if this looks good in the browser on your computer, then that means you can take that HTML file that you saved and you can upload it to a web server. And then other people can go to your website and then download that HTML file to view your website. So as we get further, you know, that's what we're going to do. We're going to be, you know, using HTML and CSS, saving it onto our desktop, and then testing it in the browser. And then when everything looks good, we can upload those files to a web server so that they're live, okay? And this is generally how most developers and designers work. All right, so let's get back into this. Let's talk about the HTML document. You can see at the top I have a doc type. If you remember, doc type tells the browser what type of HTML we're using. In this situation, doc type HTML means that we're using HTML version 5. Then we have the HTML tag. Remember that the HTML tag begins and ends our HTML document. Then we have the head. The head is information about the page but does not show up in the browser window. Then we finally have the body. This is where all of our elements like images, text, lists, whatever are going to show up. They're going to show up in the browser, okay? So this is where we're going to be putting our list tags, okay, is inside the body. All right, so just remember that when you're coding, that you want your structure to look like mine, okay? And everything that we're doing right now is going to be inside the body. We're not messing around with the head or anything like that. All right, so let's start off. In order to start an HTML list, and we're talking about bullets here or numbers, okay, you have to signify what type of list you're going to use. Now, in this case, OL stands for ordered list. So ordered list is a numbered or alphanumeric list, okay? So it's either one. You can change it if you want with something called an attribute, and we'll go over that later. But right now, OL stands for ordered list. That means that any list items that I have in here will now show up as numbers. So this is the second part of a list. It's called the LI, and that stands for list item. Okay, the list item is what turns into a number or a bullet. Okay, so you have to have a beginning tag and ending tag. The other thing you'll notice is that the list tag exists inside the OL tag. So the beginning OL tag and the ending OL tag, the LI exists inside there. Now in between there is the text that will become the list or the list item. Okay, so this is going to be my first list item, just like that. Okay, and let's go ahead and save it and test it and see what it does. Okay, so we're going to go and save. Okay, you can see that untest.html is saved right there. I'm going to drag that into my browser, and there we go. So you can see that I have a headline right here, and then I have my first list item. You can see that my OL is right there, my LI is right there. It has a number 1. So let's say we want to add another one, okay? Another list item. Now, if you're just go ahead and put in LI again, and you can say my second list item, okay? So at this point, I'm going to save it. I'm going to go back over here, drop this into my browser, and you can see now that I have 2 list items. Okay, so I have my first list item, my second list item, okay? And you'll notice that they're preceded by a 1 and a 2. Now you'll notice in my text over here, my code, I don't write 1 dot and then my first list item. It the browser automatically interprets that li tag as a 1 dot, okay, or a 1. All right, it interprets the second one as a 2. And if we keep going, it's just going to keep doing that, okay? All right. And I'm copying and pasting. You can try that as well. It's a quick way to, just kind of build up your page if you copy and paste sometimes. Remember, you're copying and pasting your own work. You're not copying and pasting somebody else's work. So in this case, it's legit. So, that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Now, also remember that once I save this document, it's already open in a browser. All I have to do is refresh it. I don't have to keep dragging it over and dropping it. All I have to do is refresh it, and you can see that my code shows up. So again, I code over here, I save it, I bring it over here. I can either drop it in or I can refresh it, and I can see the result of my code, okay? Now, let's go ahead and create a unordered list. Now I'm going to show you something really interesting. An unordered list has the same structure as an ordered list. The only difference is that I changed the OLs to ULs. So UL stands for unordered list. So again, UL right here stands for unordered list. So that means that your list items are going to be transferred or interpreted as bullets. So let's go ahead and test this, okay? So I go to File, Save, and then over here I'm just going to refresh, remember? And look at that. I have bullets. So UL creates bullets, OL creates numbers, okay? Now, let's go into this. Let's say I want to put a title over this second list, okay? Well, that's really easy. All I have to do is in between the two lists, in between the OL and the UL, I can put another tag in here. I can do H3. Okay, that's a headline tag, not as large as H1, but it's a little smaller, so it's going to show up. And I'm going to say this is my bulleted list, okay? And right here we have H3/H3, and then our list begins. Now remember, in HTML, the big rule is any tag that begins has to end. Okay, so you notice how my H3 tag ends before my list tag starts. Okay, so let's save this and see what happens. Refresh it. There we go. You can see that this text is a little bit smaller. It's still bold because it's a headline tag, but you can see that it comes before my list. And this is kind of like how we're going to order things throughout our page. You know, the idea that order in HTML counts. Order of your elements and then order of the actual tags. Now, this concept of nesting can go even further, okay? At this point, I'm going to show you guys how to do a list within a list, okay? So let's say that I wanted to create a sublist underneath my second list item, okay? Let's try this. So it's actually really easy. All you have to do is hit return, and you can do a lot of space, you can do a little bit of space. It doesn't really matter because remember, HTML doesn't care about space. So in here, I'm actually going to do another UL, okay? Inside this UL, I'm going to have another LI, okay? And this is going to be my sublist. Okay, so there's a sublist item right there. And to make this look a little bit more meatier, I'm going to put in a few of these sublist items. Okay, so you can see here I have UL to /UL, and I have LI/LI, and you can see that this exists in between this LI tag and this LI tag. So what will happen is that this will be a sublist to list item number 2. Okay, so let's save it. Okay, let's refresh, and you can see now I have circles instead of dots, and you can see my sublist item. And you notice that they're indented. You know, they're pushed in a little bit. Okay, the browser automatically interprets and says, "Oh, look, a list within a list. I'm going to push that in. I'm going to interpret that as a sublist, and I'm going to give it a different, circle over here, and I'm also going to do, I'm going to push it in a little bit. Okay, now you'll notice that my code is indented. Okay, and the reason that I space my code a certain way is that it's visually easy to read. Okay, let me say that again. The reason why that I'm spacing things in, indenting things, is that it's easy for me to read. Okay, if my text was just like ran on and on and on, it'd be really hard to identify where the tags are, how do they end, where the structure is. It'd be really hard for me to do that. So that's why I'm indenting everything and trying to make my code look real nice and neat. Okay, so again, we're talking about, this is a list, we're talking about nesting, we're talking about nesting a whole list within a list. Okay, so again, this property of nesting keeps coming up. The idea that we're putting tags within tags, and we're doing that. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. I hope you guys, understand this, and if you have any questions, please contact me. If not, you can go ahead and start working on the recipe project. Okay, so think about this as a way of, creating content for the web. All right, thanks guys. Take care.